Question number 7. So question number 7 wants us to interpret the quadratics in context, okay? Identify and interpret the vertex of a parabola in context, okay? So first things first, what is a vertex and what is a parabola, all right? Well, it says right here that the vertex is the top or bottom of your parabola. But what is a parabola, okay? Well, a parabola is either a U or an N shape, okay? So that's what a parabola is, okay? When it says the vertex is the top or bottom of a parabola, so again, the vertex is technically where all points meet. So whenever you have a U shape, all points will meet down here at the bottom, all right? So this will be called a minimum vertex, okay? Because again, it's at the bottom, all right? Whenever you have an N shape, however, all points would meet at the top, okay? And because they meet at the top, this will be called a maximum vertex, okay? So that's what a vertex is, all right? The highest or that lowest point, okay? What is this axis of symmetry? Well, the axis of symmetry is the x value that correlates with your vertex, all right? However, that's a little hard to remember. So the easiest thing that you guys can remember for axis of symmetry is that the word symmetry means same, okay? So I'm looking for the axis that shows me that both these graphs can correlate or be the same. So that means if I was supposed to draw a line in the middle and it intersects that line, you see how both of these sides look the same? Yes. That line that you draw in between is called your axis of symmetry. Okay? So let's use that bit of information because that information is going to be quite helpful in solving this question. Alright? So another bit of information before we forget is that this is a U shape, and whenever it's a U shape, that means it's facing upwards. That would mean that this one has a positive leading coefficient. Okay? Whenever it's an N shape, that means it has a negative leading coefficient. Okay? So let's read this question. So it says, Brianna kicks a football. Its height in feet is given by this equation right here. All right? So we have Brianna right here. Okay? And Brianna kicks the football. All right? Kicks it up in the air. But does the football stay in the air? No. At some point, the football has to get back down to the ground. Okay? And you see how it looks like that N shape, guys? All right? So it's going to look something like this. All right? And I know that it's true, okay, because again, it has a negative leading coefficient. It has a negative number in front. So that's how I know it will look like that N shape, okay, because it's facing downwards, all right? So it continues to say where T represents the time in seconds after the kick. How many seconds has passed when the football is at its highest point, all right? So the question is asking me, how many seconds, okay? When the question asks you for how many seconds, it's asking you for time, all right? So to figure out time, guys, I'm trying to figure out the time that it takes me to get to this highest point, all right? To figure out the time that it takes me, I'm essentially trying to find this axis of symmetry, all right? So I need to be using the formula x equal negative b over 2a. That's how I try to find the time that it takes me to get to my highest point, which is my axis of symmetry. Okay? So a lot of times I'll set this up like negative 1 parentheses over 2 parentheses, because technically in front of this b is a negative 1. All right? So you're probably wondering, what are these a's and b's that I'm talking about? Well, my first coefficient is my a, because it's my first number that leads my equation. And the second number would be my b, which is that 80. So my b, I'm going to replace with 80, and my a, I'm going to replace with negative 16. Okay? So now I'm going to calculate negative 1 times 80 is negative 80. 2 multiplied by negative 16 is negative 32. And now I would just plug this in my calculator. All right. So a negative 80 divided by negative 32, a negative divided by negative is a positive. 80 divided by 32 is 2.5. All right. So that means it took me 2.5 seconds, all right, for me to get to my highest point, all right? And because it says how many seconds has passed, all right, the 2.5 would be my answer, all right? So what about the next question? So the next question says, Faith launches a toy rocket from a platform, all right? So here, Faith is on a platform. Okay, she launches that toy rocket up in the air, all right? But does that toy rocket stay in the air? No, at some point it has to get back down to the ground, all right? Where it gets back down to the ground, guys, is actually called your x-intercept. So that's a word that we see right here, where the line crosses the horizontal axis. So when it gets back down to the ground, that's actually what's called an x-intercept, guys, all right? And where she started from, guys, so where she launched the rocket from, is actually called the y-intercept, all right? So again, where she launched the rocket from is actually called the y-intercept, because that's where she's starting from. She's not starting from the ground, so she's starting from up here. So again, this is called the y-intercept, and this would be the x-intercept, all right? In this case, guys, we would technically have a y-intercept, but we're not sure. But we know that these 2 points, where she kicked it from and where it got back down to the ground, will actually be 2 x-intercepts, all right? So again, just for helpful information, okay? So let's go and let's solve this, guys. So it says the height of the rocket in feet is given by this equation, where t represents the time in seconds after launch. Interpret the coordinate of the vertex, okay? So in this case, guys, I need to find what the coordinate of this vertex is. So again, this will be where the vertex is, guys, all right? Because again, we have that N shape, so that means the vertex is at the top, okay? So I need to find this coordinate. But for me to find the coordinate, I need to first find the time or the axis of symmetry that got me to this vertex. So I need to use my formula, x equal negative b over 2a, to firstly find the axis of symmetry, which is the time it takes me to get to that vertex, okay? So again, a lot of times I set it up like negative 1 parentheses over 2 parentheses, because again, in front of this b is technically a negative 1, all right? And you're probably wondering, what are this a and b I'm talking about? Well, the first number in front of your t squared is your a. The second number in front of the t is your b. And the 96 is technically your c, okay? But we don't care about that right now. So I'm going to replace my b with 80. Replace my a with negative 16, okay? Now I'm going to calculate. Negative 1 times 80 is negative 80. 2 times negative 16 is negative 32, all right? Now I calculate just like what I did before. Negative 80 divided by negative 32, and negative divided by negative gives me a positive 2.5. You can just put that in your calculator, all right? So it took me 2.5 seconds, all right, to get to my highest point or to get to my vertex, okay? But I need to find what is that highest point. So I need to find y, or the height. So again, I need to find the y or the height, because the height, all right, is found by finding your y. So to find your y, guys, all you're going to do is retype this equation, and you're going to replace your t with 2.5, okay? So I would retype the equation, negative 16. I replace t with parentheses 2.5. I rewrite the squared. plus 80. I replace the t with parentheses 2.5, and then I rewrite the plus 96, okay? And then all I gotta do now is just plug this in my calculator. So I would retype this entire thing that you see right here in. So when I type everything in my calculator, so again, you type in everything from the negative 16 to the 96. So you type negative 16, parentheses 2.5 squared, plus 80, parentheses 2.5, plus 96, and you would get positive 196, all right? So you get 196, okay? So that is the height, all right, or the highest point in which the rocket, all right, got to when it launched from the platform, okay? So when we're answering this, guys, okay, this answer right here, 2.5, represents your x coordinate or your time coordinate, okay, which is your t coordinate, all right? And your t coordinate or your time would tell you how long, all right? And this all will be at this highest point, which is at the peak, okay? So this will be at its peak, okay? So again, the t coordinate would be 2.5, all right, at its peak, all right? And the h coordinate would be 196, all right, which is the height at its peak. Okay, so again, guys, just like that.